Christ is in our midst. Welcome to Spiritual Calisthenics. Today, on August 3rd, commemorate Saints Isaacius, Dalmatus, and Faustus, the Ascetics of Dalmation Monastery, Salome the Holy Myrrhbearer, Theoctistus the Wonderworker. And so, going into the lives of these great saints, of these, Saint Isaacius is celebrated also on May 30th. He became a monk at an early age and was a worker of every virtue, a zealot for the Orthodox faith. He was also deemed worthy of the gift of prophecy. The saint dwelt in a small hut near Constantinople. When Valens the Arian marched against the Goths, who were at the Danube river, this righteous one went out himself to meet the emperor, and taking in hand the reins of the emperor's horse, said to him with boldness that God had incited the barbarians to come against him, since he himself had incited many to speak against God in blasphemy, and had driven God's true worshippers out of the divine houses of prayer. Furthermore, he told him, if he ceased fighting against God by means of heresy and returned the good shepherds, that is, the Orthodox bishops, to the flock of Christ, he would easily gain victory over his enemies. However, if he did not desist from these things, nor have God as his ally, at the very outset of the battle both he and his army would certainly be destroyed. Learn from experience, he said, that it is hard to kick against the pricks. This, of course, was the words that Jesus Christ spoke to St. Paul at his meeting on the road to Damascus. Thou shalt not return, and this expedition will be destroyed. But the emperor became angry and had the righteous one locked in prison, that he might punish him and put him to death on his return after he conquered the barbarians. But he was utterly defeated and was burned alive in a certain village in the year 378. When his surviving soldiers returned from the war, wishing to tempt the saint, they came to him and said, "Prepare to make thy defense before the emperor, who is coming to fulfill what was spoken against thee." But the saint answered, "It has already been 7 days that I smelt the stink of his bones, which were burned in the fire." Thus the righteous one was released from prison. All marveled because of this prophecy, and he became even more wondrous by means of the zeal he displayed on behalf of the Orthodox in 381, when the Second Ecumenical Council was convened. After this, a monastery was built in Constantinople after him, and he piously shepherded those struggling with him in asceticism. Having served as an example of the monastic life for them, he reposed in peace about the end of the 4th century, leaving Dalmatus as his successor. As for St. Dalmatus, he was at first a soldier, in the 2nd division of the soldiers known as the Scholarii. Later, he forsook all things and took his son Faustus, went to the above-mentioned monastery of St. Isaacius, where he donned the monastic habit. Through his virtue he became venerable in the sight of all. He was present at the 3rd Ecumenical Council that was convoked in Ephesus in 431, and there displayed his zeal for orthodoxy against Nestorius. The council elected him archimandrite of the monasteries in Constantinople. Having lived for more than 80 years, he reposed in the Lord. O God of our fathers, ever dealing with us according to your gentleness, take not your mercy from us, but by their entreaties guide our life in peace. With hymns let us extol Isaacius, Dalmatus, and Faustus as Christian servants, who shone forth brightly in asceticism in the world and overturned the heresies by faith, for they cry out on behalf of us all. Regarding the 8th Wednesday after Pentecost, we are returning again to the letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians. Brethren, let anyone who thinks that he takes heed lest he fall. No temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man. God is faithful, and he will not let you be tempted beyond your strength. But with the temptation will also provide the way of escape, that you may be able to endure it. This is a very important concept of Christianity, that God does not give us what we cannot handle. There's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing that is affecting us that no one has fought before. We can escape it with God's help. It was put on our shoulders because he is trying to help us, to train us. Therefore, my beloved, shun the worship of idols. I speak as to sensible men. Judge for yourself what I say. In other words, don't go to foreign religions. Don't go, and you see this sometimes in today's culture, where someone will bring a cross, sage, and other means of black magic into their house to try to deal with spirituality. So St. Paul is saying, don't go back to these pagan practices. The cup of blessing which we bless, is it not a communion in the blood of Christ? The bread which we break, is it not a communion in the body of Christ? Because there is one bread. We who are many are one body. We all partake of the one bread. Consider Israel. According to the flesh, are not those who eat the sacrifices partners in the altar? What do I imply then? Food offered to idols is anything, or that an idol is anything? No. I imply that what pagans sacrifice they offer to demons and not to God. I do not want you to be partners with demons. You cannot drink the cup of the Lord and the cup of the demons. You cannot partake in the table of the Lord and the table of demons. Shall we provoke the Lord to jealousy? Are we stronger than he? So in other words, we cannot go back to our pagan practices, nor should we start embracing foreign concept philosophies or religions and try to couple it with orthodoxy. This is a very dangerous syncretism. Again, going back to the Gospel of St. Matthew. At that time, Jesus strictly charged the disciples to tell no one that he was the Christ. From that time, Jesus began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem, suffer many things from the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed, and on the third day be raised. And Peter took him and began to rebuke him, saying, God forbid, Lord, this shall never happen to you. But he turned and said to Peter, Get behind me, Satan. You are a hindrance to me, for you are not on the side of God, but of men. Then Jesus told his disciples, If any man would come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. Take up your cross means to sacrifice your will, your thoughts of what you think is best, and follow what is godly, what God thinks is best. And so Peter was speaking in the idea of he thought that he was going to lose his leader. He thought he was going to lose Christ, not realizing that by doing that, by trying to cause Christ to not go to his sacrifice, to not go to the cross, that he would damn all mankind and get in the way of the mission which Jesus Christ had laid out for himself. I hope that you've enjoyed today's Spiritual Calisthenics. Have a blessed and wonderful day.